One of my favorite quotes is your body's ability to heal is greater than you have ever been allowed to believe. And I really wholeheartedly stand by that. I have seen people reverse some of the most incurable in quotation marks, illnesses known to man, all by understanding these principles. Or not just these principles, but the principle that the body can heal anything. So what I've realized is at the beginning, when I just went into anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle, is a lot of people can get results with just nutrition and exercise. Like just changing what they're eating can make a huge amount of difference. And combine that with more movement.
Welcome to the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast. Welcome to the Baggage Begun podcast. Today we are joined by Neil Cannon, the best-selling author of the Vitality Code. Neil is a vitality coach, podcast host, and a speaker who has been helping people since 2015 to become free from illness, pain, and medication by balancing their bodies across the physical, mental, emotional, and energetic pillars of vitality. His primary focus is on reversing chronic inflammation, a topic that has been called the hottest health topic of 2023 by the newspaper The Guardians. And Neil's approach helps you reverse engineer the causes of your symptoms, optimize your health across all aspects of health, and potentially awaken your life force energy, which is really exciting. Today, we will explore Neil's groundbreaking work, discuss his new book, The Vitality Code, and dive into how we can all achieve true vitality by addressing the root causes of our health challenges. Neil, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to
And
have
thank
you
you,
here.
Tammy. It's an honor to be on your show. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Neil, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are
Absolutely.
today?
Like you know, I'm sure everyone who works in holistic health and healing, without exception in my experience, comes with a story of healing something, either themselves or has helped someone else. And for me, that was eczema. And I had really bad eczema for 30 years. And I was always given the same symptom masking treatments, which meant it would always come back. And it's also caused harm and permanent skin damage. I don't know if you can see that. You can't really see it with that camera, but there's permanent skin damage on my wrists and hands from using steroids too much. And it's a challenge with symptom masking treatments in that they never address the cause. And the reason I got to the cause was actually accidentally, and it was my father's stroke. In a weird and roundabout way, he was my wake up call. And I kind of followed my intuition, my inner knowing that his stroke was avoidable around the time he had the stroke. I just had something inside me saying, something's not right here. Why did he have this? I remember him being told a few years before his stroke that he had chronic inflammation. And I remember him telling me this. We were in the family kitchen, the family home kitchen, and he said, Roz, his sister, who's a naturopathic doctor, had actually told him, Tony, you've got chronic inflammation. Your blood is toxic. We need to sort this out through various methods. And I just remember him telling me this for some reason around the time he had the stroke. So then I started looking into inflammation. And I had started seeing this word inflammation in places because I had just entered the world of holistic health. I'd actually written an ebook at the time about increasing testosterone naturally for guys. So I'd started to see this word inflammation, yet there was more to find out. And very quickly, I realized it was the underlying cause of the stroke that he'd had, the hypertension that led to the stroke, the asthma he'd had since 12, a fully reversible condition, contrary to popular belief, and the eczema I'd had since I was a toddler. So I actually read that inflammation, or rather eczema, is an inflammatory disease. And I didn't like that thought. I don't like the idea of a disease. I think of imbalance. Anyway, I went about anti inflammatory diet and lifestyle. And very quickly, really quickly, my skin healed from within. And since 2015, I've just helped other people to heal their inflammation, to heal their symptoms. And I had no intention to be a coach. Someone just hired me, and then it went from there. So that became my focus, and it's just evolved since then to my latest book, which is this one, and it's Understanding the Four Pillars. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Since you mentioned your book, I wanted to get to it later, but your new book, The Vitality Code, dive into these concepts. What inspired you to write this book, and what the key takeaway that you hope the readers will gain
The
from
key
it?
takeaway, there is a focus on inflammation, as you might have guessed by now. And the four pillars is really the main takeaways I'd like my reader to get is the body is a phenomenally powerful self-healing machine. It's just incredible. The science of epigenetics has shown us that the body will heal anything, provided we create the science, the environment within to allow the body to heal itself. Now, that's not what we're being told. And that's one of the greatest takeaways I'd like people to have. One of my favorite quotes is your body's ability to heal is greater than you have ever been allowed to believe. And I really wholeheartedly stand by that. I have seen people reverse some of the most incurable in quotation marks, illnesses known to man, all by understanding these principles. Or not just these principles, but the principle that the body can heal anything. So what I've realized is at the beginning, when I just went into anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle, is a lot of people can get results with just nutrition and exercise. Like just changing what they're eating can make a huge amount of difference. And combine that with more movement. Some people don't, they're just not active. And we need to move for so many reasons. Like first and foremost, oxygen, need to detoxify, and every part of our lymphatic system and our musculoskeletal system absolutely requires movement. So we can't not move. Anyway, there's a lot that can be done with just nutrition and movement. And then as my work went on and my research went on, I realized diet and exercise wouldn't work for everyone. And then I realized we have to go deeper into the emotional health, the mental health, and the energetic health, which is where things get super exciting, in my opinion. So when we're talking about igniting life force energy or awakening life force energy, and the major takeaway is when we address every angle of health, we can create healing at a level that is unimaginable. And most of us need to do every angle. And it just gets better and better and better. It becomes like a journey of vitality, I call it, where at the end of it, we understand us as these energy beings in physical bodies. And we are so much more powerful than most of us realize. So that's another one of my takeaways I'd love for the readers to have.
So, is for the listeners, why is inflammation so critical to address when people get the being diagnosed that they have inflammation, not let it just not only treated with medication? And how do your method help reverse
So,
it?
inflammation is the underlying cause of just about every chronic illness. It's a condition that I recommend every client, every reader, every listener, everyone to get. If we test our markers of inflammation, we will normally find we have them elevated, particularly if we have a chronic symptom of virtually any label, and including joint pains and lower back pain. And if it's elevated, we need to go, okay, what is it? If it's really underlying every illness, and we can all look this up, we can go into PubMed and peer-reviewed medical research, and we can look for the label of the symptom. In my case, that's eczema. For someone else, arthritis, or for someone else, diabetes. And then you can just cross-check that. You can just do symptom name and inflammation, and it will always come up. I say always. I want to say always. Maybe there's one or two exceptions, but for the most part, there's always a connection between the label of the symptom and inflammation. So inflammation is like the underlying cause, creating a whole myriad of symptoms. And underneath the inflammation are the true root causes of the illness. So inflammation in itself is a very healthy immune response. It's an immune reaction. And if we didn't, we'd die. So we have to be grateful for it. It's our army of defenders, if you will, the immune system, going onto defense. It's going into overdrive to protect us. So it's a very, very healthy thing that it's happening. However, when it happens again and again and again and again, consistently and chronically, that's when the body starts to present symptoms to us to tell us that we are inflamed. Like, how else would we know? Like, I consider symptoms like warning lights on the car dashboard. Imagine your warning lights coming on and then just ignoring them. You want to under the hood, you want to get into the engine and figure out what's going on, or rather go to a mechanic, to help you to do that. With the body, it's similar. We need to see someone, or unless we just research ourselves, about what's causing the symptom. because the symptom is absolutely a warning light. And this goes for every label. And if we understand that inflammation underlies most, we then go, okay, what's causing the inflammation? And then we can go about addressing the cause and allowing the body to heal itself so symptoms naturally disappear. When we coming back to your other question about drugs, if we just take drugs, it's like missing the entire point of the symptom. It's like the whole this body, which is a phenomenally remarkable intelligence, is saying, "Hey, Neil, whatever your name is, there's an underlying thing going on here. You're being invited to look at it." And that goes across the board for every label. And we need, in my opinion, we need to move away from the term genetic disease. I think that's disempowering. It creates victims out of people and it's not empowering. So if we can go, okay, we have a symptom, it's creating an alert for me to go, hey, let's go and investigate. That's, in my opinion, way more empowering. And then, helping people and interviewing people, for example, who have reversed the most advanced forms of cancer. They will tell you a definition of cancer very different to what we learn in the mainstream. And it's a much more empowering definition. And inflammation is very much a part of the creation of cancer. So if we can get to the cause of the inflammation, which is typically toxins and or chronic stress as a result of trauma and or deficiency of essential cell fuels. I like to simplify things as best as I can. Of course, that's a simplified version. However, why not look at it simply? I don't think the body was designed to be complicated. It might be complex, but I don't think it was designed to be complicated. I don't think we need PhDs to figure out fundamentals of the body. That wouldn't be a very clever invention. So that's what I'm trying to do my best at, is just simplifying everything. And if we have any toxins in the body, we need to find out what they are and get rid of them. And we're living in a world of increased toxicity. And that's sad. However, we can take action. And once we know that it's there, we can then do things. Hope that's answered your question. Yeah, great question. We most can relate to how chronic stress creates illness. It's often spoken about how 90% of chronic illness is down to chronic stress. And if most people can get their heads around that, we can start to understand that chronic stress leads to us living by the hormones of stress, which weaken the gut, which is where 80% of the immune system roughly is located. So if we're living by the hormones of stress, because we're in a moderate state of fight or flight, or even an extreme state of fight or flight, but a lot of people are living on a fight or flight state, or in a fight or flight state, responding to deadlines, to pressures, to demands from people, to family, demands from people or family, whatever. There's demands on us the whole time. And if we are responding in a stressful way, which is actually a choice which we can come on to in a moment. But if we are responding in a stressed response, we actually start to create weakness in the immune system. And without getting into the technicalities of it, just think of hormones of stress, not a good thing. And when we understand that, we think, what is stress and how do we determine if we're stressed? We can determined just really by understanding our emotional stress, our emotional state. If we think we're stressed and we're using that word all the time, for example, then that's an indication that we have stress. So one of my favorite definitions of stress is that it's our internal response to external strains. And when I figured this out or discovered it maybe a decade ago, I think it was reading a book, Flow, Living at the Peak of Your Ability by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And he just gave this definition, which I thought was brilliant. In other words, it's not the circumstances, it's not the events themselves that create the stress, it's how we respond to that event. So I often use the traffic jam example, where two people can respond in a very different way to exactly the same circumstance. We could be two separate people in well, two separate people. Two people could be in separate cars on the way to work, and then all of a sudden, stand still. So what is that? Well, it's lots of stationary vehicles. That can be very stressful for some people, or it can just be lots of stationary vehicles to other people. And the one person can react in a very calm and relaxed way. They might put music on, they might call their boss and say, hey, I'm going to be late. They might listen to a podcast, maybe the Vitality Secret podcast or your podcast, maybe the Baggage Be Gone one. And they just chill out and they just enjoy the time and they think there's nothing they can do about it. And they just relax and they remain calm. In the same exact circumstance, another person can react in a different way. And they start weaving in and out of traffic and effing and blinding or swearing. Effing and blinding is an English thing. And swearing, causing road rage. And you can virtually see the blood go up into their brains and the veins popping out of their heads. You can picture it and probably see it as well. This was me in my 20s when I would linger behind someone in the outside lane and they wouldn't move over. Anyway, the point is we have a response. And that response is actually our choice. And it's very easy to overreact to things that we don't need to react to in that way. And we can respond in a different way. And you know what? I heard a brilliant quote, even I think it was yesterday morning or the day before, by a channel. And he said, circumstances do not matter. It's how we respond that matters. And it's the same thing. Like how we respond to events in our lives is what matters to us in our bodies. And also that relates to energy and how energy creates matter. So the energy that we respond with has the potential to change matter in the body and also beyond the body in the world of quantum. So anyway, that's a bit of a deep dive. But coming back to the emotional thing, I think it's worth knowing how we are able to choose how to respond to things. And obviously some things are a lot harder to deal with than others. On a day-to-day basis, that's where I feel we need to pay attention. Yes, reverse engineering is really about finding out what the toxins are. There's a number of different approaches, and to simplify things, we can do that. So let's just say we know someone has inflammation. The reason for inflammation is we have toxins, overexposure to toxins, and or chronic stress, and or deficiency of essential cell fuels. We can use technology, and more recently I've been using bioresonance to help with this, as you and I have experienced together.
Wait, I want to share with everyone that's listening right now. My experience with your bioresident was amazing. Actually, last week I had a session with Neil and it was magnificent. And whoever is here and would like to try, I really highly recommend it. I was very curious because when we met, he was on this big platform with other people that we were talking about manifestation, and he brought this bioresonant machine. And this machine basically reads your voice, give your birthday, your name, and it's phenomenal. I'm going to let you share, but I'm going to just talk about my experience. It's amazing how it can give you answers, give you clarity, and you're wonderful. Like, Neil gives you like 2 hours of his attention, and he's so patient and he knows so much information. So if you're curious and you want to know where are the inflammations, after I spoke to him, I went and I did a blood test because I was so curious. So it's going to help you to move to the next level or help you even to understand what's going on. For me, I have right now a backache. I'm interested to know what's going on, but it's definitely something that you would like to try. And I'm going to let you explain what is this beautiful machine able to do.
Yeah, this particular one, which, by the way, whilst this particular software is fairly new in the last few years, The company's been around a lot longer than that, and bioresonance has been around for a lot longer than that. So, bioresonance is a form of technology which reads the frequencies of the body. So, Tesla said if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. We are energy beings, and before we are physical. So, we need to understand that. I mean, if we remember our physics lessons in school, we'll all remember we are vibration. Different things are vibrating at different levels. This phone is vibrating. My book is vibration. Everything is vibrating at a different frequency. So everything in the body has a different frequency. Every muscle, tissue, organ, brain, heart, everything has a frequency. Parasites, fungi, bacteria, mold, metals, heavy metals, mercury, tin, nickel. It all has different frequencies. So we can use this technology to figure out what is creating the imbalance. That's one of the things I love about the bioresonance is like it helps to take away the guesswork. And in the last few years, there's been a new intruder introduced into people's bodies, which has caused a lot of reactions. So we need to, if it's there and if it is causing a challenge, we need to remove it. So this machine is good for that, and without making any claims, this company claims doesn't make any claims to diagnose, treat, or cure anything like that. What it can do is determine frequencies of imbalances, and it just helps. If we know that inflammation causes illness, we know it's due to toxicity, deficiency, and stress, then we can start to reverse engineer, as it were, the cause. Now, I use the term reverse engineer because of the body electric, which is the fundamental, it's like the backbone of everything I do. And I used to be an electrician. So when I discovered the principles of the body electric, I everything fell into place for me like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like at that point it was 7 years of working in holistic health. It was like everything just came together for me. But okay, we're wired up like a house with different organs on different circuits. And all of those circuits pass through our teeth, which act like circuit breakers. And then we think, oh, voltage. And then I realized that every illness is a result of low voltage in an organ. That's from Dr. Jerry Tennant. I love to give credit where it's due. If we understand that illness is a result of low voltage, then we go, oh, hang on. I've not got enough power going to my pancreas or my gut or my throat, my thyroid or my brain or heart, whatever. So you can start to think, some of these machines allow you to see where there's areas of low voltage. So my scan often shows up my eyes, and I've had two other, maybe even three actually, but at least two other machines over the last 2 years tell me I've got low voltage in my eyes. Now, I currently have 20/20 vision. When it goes dark, I'll be wearing blue blockers, but I've got bright light coming in at the same time. Really, I should be wearing blue blockers right now, but I would prefer it in the daytime. Anyway, I've got low voltage apparently in my eyes, so it's teaching me to look at what's causing that. Now, look, we think it's normal to lose our eyesight as we age. That's not normal. I've got a friend in his 80s. I've got various friends in their 80s with 20/20 vision. One of my friends is 81 or 82. He started to lose his eyesight many, many years ago, decades ago, and he used meditation and visualization to fix his eyesight that was declining. Now, he also repaired an injured spine. The medical industry told him he'd never walk again. And he went, I don't believe that. Just following his intuition. This is kind of Joe Dispenza style stuff. He did consistent meditation, visualization, and he is now walking, he's running, he was almost overtaking me up the Hollywood Hills the other day. He was pacing up. And anyway, it just shows what the body can do. So if we understand what's going on with our eyes, I'm just using my eyes as an example of low voltage. I look at the sun at sunrise and sunset, those times, because I want the voltage coming into my eyes. And I'm also grounding. I've been doing that for many, many years, and looking at other things that might be causing the low voltage. And some of that is emotional. And that comes kind of back to the emotional pillar. A lot of things, a lot of challenges, a lot of maladies, a lot of whatever you want to call them, I don't even like using the word illness or disease. I just think chronic symptom. A lot of chronic symptoms are a result of chronic, or rather, either stress, but underneath the stress is trapped emotions. And we often hear about that as trauma. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I don't want to talk about my trauma because it's obviously not pleasant." We don't need to talk about a trauma. But if we can understand that emotions are electromagnetic bundles of energy, and by the way, this software can pick this up as well, it can pick up your emotional state. If we understand that we have trapped emotions which drop the voltage in our organs, in the circuitry, we can then go ahead and release the emotions, which have an energetic mass. I used to think this was woo woo back when I started off in 2015. I could not make the connection between emotions and cancer. I attended this Truth About Cancer Live symposium in 2016, and there were a number of talks on emotions leading to cancer. And I thought, how? What? That makes no sense to me. And I tuned out. I wasn't at the right frequency to hear it. Anyway, several years later, because of my own stuff, I realized, and also due to the electrical nature of the human body and how it was taught, I discovered that emotions are electromagnetic bundles of energy. They actually have an energetic mass. And there's slogans or quotes like "the organs weep the tears the eyes refuse to shed." So, which is huge. The organs weep the tears the eyes refuse to shed. Well, it's all around how emotions create illness. So, and the issues are in the tissues. I've just realised I've been talking a long time, so I'll stop. But yeah, it's we can reverse engineer this stuff. We can use kinesiology, we can use bioresonance, we can use principles of the electrical nature of the body, and we start to put together a like a jigsaw puzzle, a flow diagram of what's going on. So that's kind of why I use the term reverse engineer. We're electrical, everything's wired up like a house. Our cells are all electrical. We know that what fuels the cells. We know about epigenetics. We know the body can heal anything. If there's a neurodegenerative disease, my first question is, what are the toxins getting into the brain? You know, it doesn't just happen for no reason. Certainly doesn't happen because of a pharmaceutical drug deficiency.
You will ask them where you're living or what you're eating, what you're consuming, your workout. That's the type of
Everything.
questions.
Yeah, so functional medicine is the closest thing, one of my favorite forms of medicine. And it's all about root cause. So I'm not a doctor in functional medicine, but I use a lot of their principles, and it's my favorite, or one of my favorites. So it was almost like going down a checklist, like what are your environmental toxins? Are you surrounded by EMFs, like cell phone towers? Some people got sick during the 5G launch because they were so close to these 5G towers. Our bodies do adjust to a degree, but these non-native EMFs can cause harm to our cells. Some of these scans on some people are showing major stresses in the body from EMFs. So if we know about it, we can then go about protecting ourselves. But if we don't know about it, then we're kind of like playing in the dark. And we can protect our homes. We can protect ourselves from our phones. We can create energetic protection. Believe it or not, even with the software. So there's lots of things that we can do to protect ourselves. We need to find out what they are. Otherwise, we just don't know. And it's not okay anymore. This is where I get a bit passionate. It's not okay to just say incurable, genetic, watch and wait. There's these ridiculous terms in the medical industry which are so unhelpful. They're victimizing, and then they just don't help us. So we need to understand that there is always a cause, and we can figure it out. Not figuring it out is where we're falling into trouble.
So you mentioned before meditation, visualization, and heart brain coherence, like Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
that there are key areas you work with. Let's say a patient comes to you and they are like very young, and now you can see it all the time, 22 years old with psoriasis. How can you use meditation, visualization, and all these practices that are holistic to help them to not think that they have to take these medications forever?
So psoriasis is an autoimmune as a result of leaky gut, and we are often told it's a genetic disease. Now, I've helped people with psoriasis. It doesn't take long to find someone who's reversed psoriasis. The moment we go, it's reversible, we will find people who have done it. I've got an interview on my podcast of people reversing it or someone reversing it. So it's an autoimmune. We need to heal the gut. One of my favorite teachers in this space is Dr. Amy Myers. She wrote The Autoimmune Solution. Her story is fascinating because she was conventionally trained. So she was trained in drugs and surgery, a bias towards drugs and surgery, which is what Western medicine is. She then started to work as a doctor, realized her patients were not getting better, they were getting sicker. And then she started looking into this more and more, and she discovered functional medicine. And then she realized, oh, she had her thyroid irradiated. That's what they do in the medical industry. They destroy the thyroid and then they prescribe medications, hormonal medications. Alarm bells much? Anyway, she then went into functional medicine, realized autoimmune as a result of leaky gut. She realized she didn't have to irradiate her thyroid, which is permanent. Although at a Joe Dispenza retreat, I have heard of one person regrowing their thyroid. Just on that note, that's how powerful we are. With that aside, when we destroy an organ, that's fairly permanent normally, except when we enter the world of we can heal anything. It's You get the idea. Destroying the thyroid is not a good thing. Anyway, she devoted her life to helping many tens of thousands now to reverse autoimmune by focusing on leaky gut, what creates leaky gut, and healing it. So, what do? I say if someone has psoriasis, they have a symptom of leaky gut, symptom of inflammation. Let's start with the diet. Let's clean it up. Let's take out all these toxins. Most people are consuming toxins every single day. So they can replace the toxins for good things. And one thing I wrote about in the Vitality Secret in 2016 was how there's a huge difference between what is conventionally healthy and what is truly healthy. Like the standard American diet is not one for longevity. That's just it's the acronym is SAD. I wrote about this yesterday on LinkedIn. It's kind of pretty appropriate. We want to be switching to an anti-inflammatory diet, and there's many approaches to do that. But the main thing is take out the toxins, pay attention to anything laced in herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, etc. GMO we want to steer clear of, particularly corn, gluten, soy, cottonseed. Terrible. Seed oils, terrible. We want to go as clean as we possibly can, close to nature. And a lot of people can get results. A lot of people get results with gluten and dairy removal. And next step, taking out the grains. A lot of people can get results just with those alone, with psoriasis and other autoimmune conditions. The thing is, we've been programmed to think that we need to eat gluten 3 times a day. What if you don't eat gluten 3 times a day? What if you replace the gluten with something that's actually nutrient dense? I used to have, I'm jumping about a bit here. I used to have breakfast cereal and milk every single morning for about 30 years. That's a bowl of inflammation.
I cannot imagine you consuming cereal with milk. It seemed like another
It
lifetime.
was. It was. And I had
Yeah.
eczema all over my back, my face sometimes, my chest, all over my arms. It wasn't fun. Always thinking it was genetic.
I've seen a huge shift in the people that I guide the second I tell them to eat clean. Throughout our process, even though I clear baggage that is basically mental and emotional, there sometimes when they are still stuck, I suggest to clear the diet from, like you suggest, the
Yeah.
gluten and the dairy, because I see how clear I am because I stopped. For me, my diet is gluten free and dairy free, and there is a huge difference. I used to be consumed with anxiety, and it's a miracle that I'm not taking any medication and I don't feel it. I used to be anxious and I thought I will have to take medication all my life. Just simple things that you remove, even the caffeine, not drinking coffee, even though it's fun to drink coffee. So some of us, we cannot consume certain food that just making us crazy. And I enjoy listening to you because I think the next level for me will be remove the toxins, go even deeper now, you know?
Yeah.
I probably need to schedule another appointment.
Yeah. The thing I just wanted to say about what you just said about emotional health is huge because there is a gut brain link. If we are thinking thoughts which are, let's just say, of a stress response, that affects the gut. And if we consume stuff that creates stress, i.e., anything that's not in alignment with nature, that affects the brain. It's like a two-way communication. So a lot of people can have, like, depression has been linked with inflammation. Even in the mainstream media recently, a few years ago, they said inflammation is the cause of depression in a third of cases. It's probably higher than that. And of course, in the mainstream media, they talk about reducing inflammation by taking anti-inflammatory drugs. You can't take a drug to reduce inflammation. The very notion of taking a drug to reduce inflammation is absurd because the drugs cause inflammation. So, one of my greatest messages for the whole of mankind is to stop paying attention to the media when it comes to health. It's just near on nonsense. And I actually dropped it about a decade ago because I realized it wasn't very useful. So, yeah, we're so much more powerful. We're so much more powerful. And yeah, if we switch to anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle, for example, we can go a long way.
I believe in the power of healing ourselves through listening to what's happening to our body and being able to heal ourselves through the visualization, meditation, and everything else that you said. So I see it very powerful. Now, you have been in this field for many years. You've probably seen so many transformations. What advice would you give to someone who feels overwhelmed by their health challenges and doesn't know where to start?
That's a great question. Well, there's a book called The Vitality Code. What I would like to always say is remember just how powerful you are. Like we were created from a sperm and an egg. That's a pretty incredible intelligence. That same intelligence can heal us of just about anything. I would say everything. I can't give evidence of everything, but I just say almost anything. And when we tap into that, knowing how phenomenal the body is, and you know, the body can heal, and it can be taken in time. It doesn't need to be a stressful journey because that's in itself not a good thing. Go step by step. Start with nutrition. Start with movement. Start with breathing. Some people aren't breathing enough. I run a breathing group, and just breathing alone, people have got changes in their blood work and symptoms. And for mental and emotional health, we start off with a bit of breath work in the morning. It sets the scene for the whole day. So some things can be changed so quickly by just a few basic shifts, remembering that there's a big difference between conventionally healthy and actually healthy. And I just say, start surrounding yourself with people who have healed something. There's follow what works. That's what I've done with this book. I would like trying to I've got a podcast of people reversing so many different illnesses, starting from multiple sclerosis, featuring Crohn's disease and endometriosis and gastroparesis and various forms of cancer. And there's the point with that was to show people that we are really powerful at healing ourselves. We just need to be aware of the systems that don't serve us. The Western medical is amazing system for emergencies. It's so good. It can help us live, in pain, and it has its purpose. And when it comes to illness and dis-ease, I don't think it's helpful long term. We need to figure out why the body's got out of balance and start thinking what's causing it. What is causing this? And often our intuition tells us what is causing my sickness. Is my diet clean? Have I been exposed to anything that's not in alignment with the nature codes? What could that possibly be? Is there mercury in my mouth? Is there an infected root canal? There's a few things to consider. It can be overwhelming, but it's when we start doing it. I call it a vitality journey because it is a journey. We can't do it all at once. I didn't do this overnight. I experienced it and learned about it over years. So what I do with my clients is do it over 8 weeks. Just bring it all into one fairly easy to follow journey. Not even fairly. It is easy to follow once we get into it. I guess to avoid overwhelm, start simple, start small, and just notice how quickly the body can change.
Exactly. And listen to your body, listen to yourself, because intuitively we know what's good for us. Listen to the voices that are telling you that you know and it's possible for you to help yourself to heal yourself. There are so many evidences outside ourselves that showing us that other people could do it. Where they can find your book?
On Amazon, if they just type in the vitality code, it looks like this.
Of
And
course.
I would say also vitalitysecret.com is my main website where they can get access to online course community I've just launched as of a week ago, private coaching, of course, and bioresonance. Yeah, I hope for everyone to heal themselves and discover how amazing we all are and co-create a new world.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible insights and expertise with us today. I am certain our listeners will find immense value in what you have shared. And don't forget to check out the links in the show notes to explore more about Neil's work. His new book, The Vitality Code, as he said, it's in on Amazon, and how you can start your own journey towards optimal health and vitality. Thanks again for being here, Neil, and for inspiring us to live healthier, more vibrant lives. We look forward to seeing how your work continue to empower and uplift others on the healing journey. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you, Tammy. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank
Thank
you.
you.